We welcome you into a special edition of the best podcast available, and not only because we're going to hear from Nathan Zegura again, but it is the debut of one Anthony Poisal, staff writer for the Cleveland Browns and clevelandbrowns.com, special guest on Cleveland Browns Daily, numerous other elements as well throughout the Browns media network. And it's a big day, Anthony. Obviously, this is OTA time. Things are starting to get busy. Things are starting to amp up again. But it's also a big day and a big week because it is the return of one Jadeveon Clowney, who you will hear from coming up in just a few minutes, but a big addition for Joe Woods and that Browns defense.
Yeah, huge. And I know we've talked about it on previous CBD episodes. You know, Clowney and just filling that extra or that second defensive end spot really kind of felt like the last big puzzle piece that this team kind of needed here. And, you know, Clowney always made sort of the most sense as far as who you want to bring back because you know what he can provide with, him and Myles Garrett. 9 sacks last year. He played in 14 games. Both were his highest total since 2018. And that really was what, the gap. Like, if Clowney wasn't here, there was going to be a gap in that spot. And now that, he's finally back, it's like, okay, let's go. We know maybe Myles and Jadeveon can be even better just because they have a year under their belt. They know what each of them are capable of doing when they're both playing together. And I think it's really good that they were able to kind of get that done finally. There's a lot of just hype about, okay, where's Jadeveon going to land? And it always kind of felt like the Browns made the most sense after what he was able to do last year. Well,
and you'll hear from Jadeveon Clowney coming up in a few minutes in a Cleveland Browns exclusive interview with Nathan Zegura, but he basically said, this is where I wanted to be. They just needed to fine-tune a few things, and, then Deshaun Watson comes here as well, and it's a guy that Jadeveon Clowney knows very well. So it made even more sense for the player to come back.
Right, and Greg Newsome himself said it. It's like Jadeveon knew that this is a roster that is absolutely built to win right now, and that's obviously a very appealing thing. That's why he signed with the Browns last year too. He saw the very talented pieces that they have here, and he wants to be a part of a winning team. He wants to win a Super Bowl. Anthony Walker said that, he even texted him after he signed saying just 2 words, Super Bowl. So, he's here because he wants to win now, and he believes this is a roster that can win right now.
Yeah, if you look at Jadeveon Clowney's numbers from a year ago, a lot of people said this is a guy that is really good against the run, and he can put pressure on the quarterback, but he's not necessarily known for sacks. Well, finished second on the team last year, 9.5 sacks, including 5.5 in his final 3 games. And a lot's going to be expected of him on the opposite side of Myles Garrett once again here in 2022.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, him and Myles had 25 sacks last year, which is the most any edge rush duo in Cleveland has had since 1984. It was Reggie Camp and Clay Matthews that had that last. So, I mean, they did big things last year, and that was the expectation, and that is, once again, easily the expectation again. And I think it's even conceivable now that they have a year under their belt that maybe they can go even higher than 25 this year. Maybe they're looking at, the duo record, if you want to call it, for the most sacks that 2 edge rushers have gotten with the Browns. So we'll see what happens. But I mean, obviously the expectations are just as high, if not higher, than last year when Clowney first came here. In the edge rusher side of that room now, you feel really good. You've got Myles, you've got Jadeveon Clowney, you've got Chase Winovich, and then at defensive tackle, you're young, but you have some guys that are going to get opportunities to make plays. Yeah, definitely. I mean, they bring in Taven Bryan, and I think today we kind of saw what. I mean, it's just OTAs today. It's not like you can make any big assumptions, but it was Taven Bryan and Jordan Elliott taking the first team, snaps today, and I think bringing Clowney in makes you feel a lot better about what they have at D tackle, just because the edge is set, and that when you have 2 good edge rushers, it's going to make life a lot easier for your defensive tackle group. So I think they're going to try out a lot of guys. They're going to rotate a lot of guys for those starting roles this year, but they're going to feel good about whatever combination it is when they put it in, just because now you have Myles and Jadeveon, and what you can get out of him.
More importantly, that you have an outstanding back end of your defense. With corners, safeties, you are deep at all those positions. Linebacker, there's a lot of talent there as well, a lot of expectation from a lot of those young players that can give those frontline guys a chance to make some plays.
Yeah, and it really feels like what this front office covets most is, having the edge set, and they have that with Myles and Jadeveon. And just like you said, the secondary here is deep. They've got 3 safeties that they trust, and they have multiple cornerbacks that they trust. You can count Martin Emerson in there. We'll see what he's able to do in training camp, but he's definitely a guy that down the line they think is going to be able to deliver and deliver the kind of things that they really want out of the secondary and keep that group deep. You got to have a deep secondary because injuries are going to come up at some point during the season, and you have to be ready for them. And I think they have what they want now. They have that deep secondary, and now they have another year of Miles and Jadeveon anchoring things on the edge.
All right, we'll get more into what this defense is going to look like, but right now, time to hear from the man of the week himself. Jadeveon Clowney showed up, signed his contract, went right out on the field for OTAs, and after practice, had a chance to sit down with our Nathan Zegura in a Cleveland Browns exclusive. Have a watch and have a listen.
What a great day here, obviously, welcoming back Jadeveon Clowney. Yes, sir. Welcome back, brother. Good to see you.
It's good to be back. It's good to be back.
So when you're thinking about things this offseason, and I know last year, 9 sacks, this defense had a great run at the end of the year, some unfinished business, perhaps you could say. What made you decide to come back to the Cleveland Browns?
I just want to chase that Super Bowl. I think we got a shot at it. We had a great defense last year. They went out and got some more key players on offense and some more on defense, and I just feel like we got a shot. And I wouldn't want to do it no better team than the one I just played with last year.
Why do you think you were able to have the success that you did in this defense last year with the 9 sacks as we talked about, and then hopefully to be able to build upon that this year?
I feel like that was my first time really being in a traditional 4-3 and just really getting after the quarterback, and a great group of guys up front. It wasn't just me, individual work. It was a team effort, and front end did their job, and the back end was doing their job, and we just had a total team thing together out there on defense, and I just hope we continue to do that this year.
Yeah, you think about the back 7, they're all back for the most part, and then you've got Myles Garrett back, obviously, opposite you. Let's talk about Myles. Obviously, he was out there on the recruiting trail trying to get you back here. What was he saying to you, and what were the guys saying trying to make sure you got back here in the brown and orange?
He was really just like, before I left last year, was like, hey, you going to come back and mess with me? I say, yeah, we're going to have to make that run. We get a good thing on offense, man. We can do out here together. So I say, let's see what we can do this. Let's run it back, and that's what we're doing, man. Try to run it back and go ahead and play better than we did last year.
Was it good to just get back here on the field and get back with the guys?
Oh, it felt great, man. I miss these guys. I told them I enjoy this sport, man. This is exciting to me to be out here kicking it with them. That's the most I get to talk to guys and just be around them and have a good time with them. So I'll be looking forward to that part.
A lot of familiar faces, as we talked about, but some new ones as well. What's kind of it like, getting back here? Every year is a new year in the NFL, but seeing this group, and does it feel any different? Does it feel any different than a year ago?
I definitely do. It's like I'm not walking in on getting to know guys. I already know them, and that's a better feeling than just coming into a locker room where I got to learn new guys and learning a new system. Walking into a locker room now that I know, and I know the system, is a much better feeling. Like, it's just that feeling, man. Like, you just always excited. Like, I'm excited to be around them. I already know what I'm dealing with. I know who I got. I know what we can do together. Just hope we can just take that another step further and get where we need to get this season.
Yeah, it's the first time in a while for you, right?
Yeah.
Same coaching staff, every position room on the defense the same principal players back on defense, same head coach, all of that. That's got to be nice, right?
It's a great feeling. Like I said, I can play fast. I don't have to think that much. I know what's going on. I know who are around me. I know how they play on behind me. I can know who look behind me and say, oh, I know this guy. I've been playing with him for a year. Like, you got to develop that chemistry with players, and I think just being with them over a year and going to year 2, they know who I am. I kind of got a feeling of who they is, and I think it's going to work out a lot better this year than it did the year before.
Really, the only kind of maybe new faces will be in between you and Myles, right? And so what's it been like getting to know some of those guys? And I know we have a rather boisterous young fella in that room as well, our draft pick out of Oklahoma, Perion Winfrey.
Perion Winfrey, I think he's going to be a good player. I've been getting on him already. I told him, hey, you're going to be the biggest piece really to this defense. It all starts with the middle of the defense. Little do you know, they can talk about the ends all they want, but you really going to hold the defense together. It's like the glue to the defense, the D-tackle, and he got to play big for us this year. He know that. I think he coming to work every day right now. Since I've been seeing him, he been working well. He learning the playbook, and I'm just looking forward to seeing what he brings to the defense this year.
Continuity on defense, we've talked about that. Offense, some changes. New quarterback, Deshaun Watson. Amari Cooper is into the fold as well. Now those running backs are back, and we're going to get tight end David Njoku back as well. But what's it been like, just as you were observing, because there was a lot of chatter out there already today, even in the 7-on-7s, but observing that offense.
That's my boy Deshaun, and I was happy about him coming here, and I told him if he come back, I was going to follow him. So when he came back here, I told him, hey, you got yourself another Cleveland Brown up there right now. They just get me up there. So I already know he can bring to the team. I played with him. He's a great player to have on your team, a great leader. he can make the plays out there on the field, and just looking forward to seeing what he's gonna do out there. It's like you just lock in and just be excited about. Can't wait to see what happens. You look forward to a big play happen, knowing he can make it happen, and knowing that on defense, he's just like, hey, let's just go out there, do our job, rush that pass, and just get to that quarterback, because we're gonna get plenty of opportunities this year with him at quarterback.
Did you try to lobby to be the only defensive guy going to the Bahamas?
Oh, man, nah, man. I told y'all do y'all thing. Y'all need to bond together. We're going to do our thing. The D-line going to get together, do something. We're trying to work on that now.
Well, Jadeveon, it is great to see you. Sight for sore eyes. Welcome back to the Browns, and excited to see what you guys get to do here in the 2022 season.
All right, man. Glad to be back. Looking forward to it. Thank you.
Thanks to Nathan Zegura for all of his fine work, and thanks to Jadeveon Clowney for a few minutes of his time signing his contract, going right out to the practice field, making some impacts. Obviously, his teammates are big fans and love to see him back, and a little pep in the step of everybody today with number 90 returning.
Yeah, definitely. It was great to just see him coming out of the tunnel. He was almost sprinting. It felt like going out onto the field. There was a little cool moment I saw. Jeff, right here, he was right behind him, and it just seemed like he was really fired up. I think the one good thing that was also great to see about him being back is there were a lot of times I noticed where he's just giving pointers to all the young guys that they have in that defensive end room right now, and that's also just another huge reason why they brought him here. It seems like he's excited to give some pointers to these guys and really make sure that the people behind him on that depth chart are going to be ready to step up if they're needed.
We talk about it. Andrew Barry talks about it along with Kevin Stefanski. They're always looking for ways to upgrade things, especially on that roster. But you really feel like now with Clowney coming into the fold that this is pretty close to the team that you're going to see trotting out on the first day of training camp, and then out of that group that shows up for day one of training camp, that's going to be your 2022 roster. Right.
There's probably not going to be very many more, if any, big moves, because honestly, this is as complete of a roster as you can kind of get right now as far as this point in the offseason. I mean, you're never going to have a roster where it's like, okay, we've got, top of the line starters at every single position. But when you compare this roster to others around the league, it's pretty talented. And Jadeveon Clowney obviously his signing makes a huge difference in shoring up that defensive line. And as we talked about earlier, defensive tackle, there's still going to be some holes there for maybe to fill in. So, but that really is the lone position that you can kind of look at right now and be like, okay, we're not really sure maybe who's going to start there week one, but you look everywhere else and it's like you can probably have a pretty safe guess at who's going to be there when they're out on the field on week one.
On the offensive side of the football, a lot of people say maybe you need to go get a wide receiver. Well, this wide receiver room, I think, is pretty close to what you're going to see here come training camp. Maybe a minor move here or there, but these guys are all going to have the chance to prove themselves here and prove that they belong on this roster on week one in Carolina.
Yeah, definitely. And they obviously feel really good about Amari Cooper and what he can bring. And, just hearing what, Kevin Stefanski has said and what you've heard from the front office, it's, the expectation here for David Bell is that he's also going to be able to step in too. Obviously, Donovan Peoples-Jones, Anthony Schwartz, the two other guys, they're both obviously still incredibly young. They have a couple, for DPJ, he's got a couple years under his belt, and Schwartz has a year under his belt now too. So, we could see those guys maybe taking some big strides here come training camp over the course of OTAs. But yeah, yes, they could still add, another guy or two.
Never say never.
Never say never. Like Will Fuller is one name that comes to mind. He's still out there. He's a guy that has worked or has played and has been successful with Deshaun Watson. And there's a few other receivers out there as well. But if they don't make any moves, I don't think it would be surprising. I think they really do feel good about what Donovan Peoples-Jones, Schwartz, Bell, the guys we just talked about, they can all do. All young players, and they're all capable of taking a big step this year.
All right, you mentioned David Bell. I know in your 5 things to watch here during OTAs, and there are 3 weeks of OTAs, 3 practices this week, 3 next week, 4 the first full week in June before we get to mandatory minicamp. David Bell was one of the guys, one of the 5 items that you were looking at is his progression at wide receiver, especially in the slot. What else are you looking for here in these next 3 weeks as we get through OTAs and get ready for mandatory minicamp?
Yeah, the big thing is really just continuing to watch Deshaun and sort of how this offense elevates a little bit. Again, it was just day one, but they were running a lot of, kind of like option plays and plays that are probably going to maybe trick the defense. And maybe that was just the focus of day 2, I guess, of OTAs. I said day 1, it's day 2. But that I think is going to be the big storyline moving forward with the offense is just, what How will the offense change, if at all? It could be big changes. It could be little changes. We don't know yet because, we haven't been able to see Deshaun a whole lot, and most certainly, Kevin Stefanski and the coaches haven't been able to spend a whole lot of time with Deshaun on the field because it's early. So, but moving over, over the next few weeks, we will kind of maybe start to see, what are they thinking when it comes to what the offense will look like this year. They still got Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt. Like, they're going to be running the ball a lot. Those guys will be used. But as far as like the play styles, the play schemes and everything that are revolving around the passing game, how will that change? And I think we got a good look at it today, just as far as how well Deshaun is able to sort of move his feet, get the ball out. And that'll definitely be something worth keeping an eye on moving forward. And then, just like you said, just monitoring both of the slot situations, because those are both open right now. Without Jarvis Landry's gone, Troy Hill's gone, so that means there's 2 openings there. And it seems like David Bell is the guy that they think could fill in on offense. And then defensively, today, I think there were some strong signs that it could be Greg Newsome. He took a lot of the snaps there in the slot today and talked about it in his post-practice interview that he would be really excited to take that role because it's a chance for him to be able to see the ball a little bit more. He didn't have an interception last year, and he's itching to get an interception. And that I think is intriguing to see if you're a Browns fan because it's not like he's uncomfortable with that. Kevin Stefanski said he's capable of playing both outside and inside, and I would say after today, it seems like, they're going to give Greg a chance to really take that inside role, which would give him a chance to make more plays on the ball.
It'll be interesting to see because I think you could have a situation by the time training camp's over where the top 3 corners on this team could all rotate. Yeah. Inside, outside, and any one could be in a slot on game day.
Yeah, definitely. And that's the benefit of just having a deep cornerback room is when guys get hurt or just if you just need to mix things up a little bit, like you can do that. And, Kevin Stefanski did say that he does plan on rotating more players into that slot role. Obviously today we saw a lot of Greg Newsome, but who knows? Maybe we'll see even a little bit of like Denzel. We'll probably see Martin Emerson slide in there at some point too, just so they can see how comfortable he is playing in that role. So that to me is definitely something worth monitoring as well. The slot role is obviously a big position in the defense, and I think they feel good about Greg Newsome, but they're also going to give a lot of other guys a chance to sort of show what they can do in that spot.
Well, you mentioned it, the offense looking good. Defensively, Jadeveon Clowney, that final nail, I think, in the coffin for this defense here in 2022. A pretty loaded group, just as loaded, I think, as on the offensive side of the football. It is going to be fun, especially as we get into training camp and we get a chance to put on the pads and see what these guys can do against each other and then in those joint practices against the Philadelphia Eagles. Thanks to Jeff McDaniel and thanks to Anthony Bacco for all of their hard work. Anthony Poisal coming out of the bullpen, the righty, good. Curve, changeup, fastball, he's got it all. He's doing a fine
Full
job.
Arsenal. Let's go.
And follow him as well on clevelandbrowns.com as he will continue to update and cover this football team through OTAs and mini camp. You can like and subscribe today to the best podcast available wherever you get your podcasts. Just look up best podcast available. You can also check us out at YouTube, youtube.com/Browns. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening to the best podcast available presented by Cross Country Mortgage.